This is Dan from Magic Pachinko Restoration, and I'm making this video for the folks that are considering getting their pachinko machine restored. This will give you a good idea of exactly what I do when I do a full restoration of your machine. Pachinko machine, some definitions. Pachinko machine is built on a board. This is the main board of a pachinko machine. It's about an inch thick. It's plywood. It's got a nice smooth surface on both the front and the back. This is the back side of the board. This is where the guts go. You can see the outline of where the guts were over time. The wood darkens up from sun exposure and lights and so on and so forth. But this board has been sanded down, polyurethaned, everything taken off obviously. Now, the front side of the board, this artwork is called the Playfield, and on most machines when you do a full restore you will remove the old Playfield. The old Playfield was printed on heavy stock paper, wallpaper pasted to the board, and then a clear plastic coating was put on the top of it. So once you take everything off the front of the machine, including the nails, then you could get in with a putty knife and scrape this artwork off, and then sand down the wallpaper paste, get this board nice and smooth like this, and then I buy new artwork that's printed on heavy vinyl with a adhesive back. Put it on, put the clear coat on top of it, and then put the nails and everything back on. This particular machine is a Sankyo. It has a different kind of Playfield. This was actually printed on a thin piece of Formica, so you can't peel this off without ruining it. So what I ended up doing is I ended up cleaning the nails. I didn't pull them out, I cleaned them in place. So that's where we are right now. Everything else has been stripped off. The Playfield is clean, the nails are clean. This is now ready to have the parts put back on. This is the frame of the pachinko machine here. To be able to get, normally, to be able to get at the Playfield and scrape it off, you have to separate this board from this frame. I didn't have to do this on this machine, I just opted to do it. It's easier for me. But once they're separated, now this frame can be thoroughly cleaned. All of this wood gets sanded down and polyurethaned. And then the board will go back on like this, and it's held in place by screws. So that's how far down it gets taken before everything gets put back on. Now, more wood. There is a wooden frame that goes around this. Typically it's 4 boards, the 2 sides, the bottom and the top. This is beautiful red mahogany wood. It was very common in Japan back in the 70s, not so much now. But the wood is gorgeous, but over time this gets very dirty. It was very rough cut through mass production. I take it apart, I run them through a planer, sand them down, and give them 2 coats of polyurethane so that they're really nice. And the hardware, which typically can get rusty, take all the rust off, gets all cleaned up. And then these are feet that will go on the bottom of the unit so it won't tip. I put stabilization feet on all of my machines. So that's essentially what I do to the wood portion of the machine. Now we're going to come over here, and this is like a pachinko machine in an exploded view, if you will. Over on this side are some of the parts here. This is the ball handling mechanism. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 individual parts on here. These all get taken off. I think you can see it on the video. You can see how shiny that brass is. There's a lot of brass on a pachinko machine. This tarnishes and gets very black. I clean all of that. This shaft right here is brass. Again, it tarnishes. Parts come off. They get cleaned. The brass gets cleaned so that everything on this works the way it should. Pachinko machines will work if they're clean. They don't need any kind of lubrication. If they're clean, they'll work, and that's what I do to make sure they work. I tear them completely apart and make sure that they will work. So this is the front door, or the supply tray. This is where you would put your pachinko balls to play. Again, this all gets taken apart. This whole unit gets taken off, disassembled, cleaned, so that there's nothing inside that'll interfere with the movement of the balls. These are all of the things that were on the board. These are the little pay pockets. This is what's called the center attraction. These are tulips. These are spinners. Again, each one of these taken off, thoroughly cleaned. Another plastic part that gets very, very dirty, black. The interior of a pachinko machine is quite often black from smoke in the parlors, and body oil off your hands just gums these up terribly on the inside, so you really have to tear them apart to make sure that they're clean and function. These are more of the metal parts on the machine. This particular lower tray is aluminum, so it gets scrubbed up. Some of the other pachinko machines will have a plastic one. The chrome parts. This is the handle that launches the ball. Again, gets all buffed up, clean. All the crud gets taken off of these parts. No lubrication whatsoever on any of this, just in case you're wondering. This is the main guts of the machine here. There's probably over 100 individual parts here. This originally was obviously on the board. It gets taken off, and then it gets broken down into its individual parts. So all of these screws come out, all the covers come off, all of the parts in this area get taken out. Everything gets taken out into its individual parts, thoroughly cleaned, and then reassembled. So this is actually a couple of sections here. This is a section that you have to make sure that this will slide the way it's supposed to, and these pivot the way they're supposed to, and this opens and closes, and so on and so forth. So this all gets cleaned, put back together, and once all of these parts are clean and everything, and then you go back to the board, then you start to reassemble parts on the board. One of the first things that goes back on are the stainless steel rails. These get attached back onto the board, and then you start to put the pay pockets and the tulips and all the other stuff back in. This board goes into here, and so on and so forth. So that's what I do when I do a full restoration. It's a complete cleaning of your machine. Your machine will look as close to brand new as possible. They are 40 years old, so you do get some wear and tear on the machines. Most of that's not fixable unless you go above and beyond, and most people don't want that. They want it to look like it's 40 years old. They just want it clean and looking good. So I hope that's kind of helped you make your decision. If you ever have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Thanks.